but no one knew. I searched through the archives and it wasn't there until I read. I was in the dark until I read. The serpent held my heart until I read. Ignorance led the way until I read. All hope was in vain. Until I read. I thought all hope was in vain. Until
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Absolute Truth. This is the Bible show that focuses on the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth concerning the Word of God, while leaving out all personal opinions, speculations, and beliefs. I'm Brother Joshua, and today reading for me is Brother Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Shalom, Josh and ABT. I hope everyone get edified by what looks to be a very interesting and powerful lesson, one that I think that everyone should hear. But I definitely can't wait for this one to get started.
Praise God, Brother Jeff, and I appreciate you reading today. And the title of today's class is God the Author of Evil? Again, today's class is titled, Is God the Author of Evil? And I decided to do this particular class because, like most topics that ABT addresses, it's a controversial topic. And this is one of the main criticisms that unbelievers and people who like to attack the Bible throw at us. I remember not too long ago, I had a guy on YouTube. You know, I get a lot of people who come on my channel who just don't believe the Bible, which is odd because it's a Bible-based channel. But I've seen to get more people who like to post, lately, who don't believe the Bible than people who do believe the Bible. Well, anyway, this guy came on the channel and he tried to play devil's advocate, and y'all know I've done many classes showing y'all how devil advocates operate, so I can spot one a mile away. So he comes on here and he asks one of the most elementary of devil advocate setup questions, and that is, it was something like this, I'm just paraphrasing, who created evil? Or did your God create evil? And I responded, I played along. I said, God created both good and evil. And then I asked him, are you satisfied? And he said, no. And he proceeded to ask questions about other things. But the reason why he asked me, does God create evil, is because if I would have said no, he would have proceeded to go to the number of places in the Bible where it says that God creates evil or brings evil. So I already knew what I was dealing with, and it eventually turned into a conversation with me just asking the guy, does he believe the Bible? In which he honestly replied, no. And then I told him, look, if you don't believe the Bible, then I don't have any reason to continue any dialogue with you. And he was like, well, just because I don't believe your Bible doesn't mean I can't have a healthy dialogue. I said, I don't believe in talking to people who don't believe the Bible. And eventually, the conversation did end on a good note, but I was eventually able to, quote unquote, drive him off because I called his bluff. And that is, if you're really trying to get understanding, because he was saying stuff like, I'm just trying to get understanding, and you are one of the people on the YouTube who teach the Bible that seem like they actually know the Bible and make a bit of sense. I'm just paraphrasing what he said. The conversation is still on my YouTube channel. And ironically, I forget which video it's under, but it's under a video that doesn't even have anything to do with whether God exists or not or the character of God. They just post this stuff under random videos, right? But I eventually told him to check out a video I did about atheism, and once he listens to it, get back to me, because I told him this will answer a lot of your questions. needless to say, I haven't heard from them ever again. But what I've noticed is that a lot of atheists like to try to throw this at people, and they have taken in a lot of Christians with this. You follow what I'm saying? They've taken in a lot of Christians, and now, even most recently, the House of Consciousness, Egyptologists, Nuwabians, they love to throw this stuff at you. And they'll say, see, your God is evil. Your God said himself he creates evil. How is he any different than the devil? I've also seen people who have these crazy religious or philosophical beliefs and try to even tell you, because they read that God creates evil, that God and the devil are the same person. I've even seen people try to justify the devil and say, God is no better than the devil. They both bring evil. They both bring good. All because they don't understand the many different definitions behind the Hebrew word translated evil in our Bible. How broad spectrum that one word covers. But what's even crazier is that the same holds true for the definition of the word evil in the English language. That's what really threw me for a loop. But people who are amateurs, people who are novices, they will throw this stuff at you. And they'll say, aha, see, the Bible is a man-based book, or your own Bible testifies that your God is evil. Why do you worship an evil God? Y'all say the devil is evil. We should avoid the devil, yet y'all tell us to worship this God, and he says he's evil too. He says he creates evil. And in a sense, if you're saying that God creates evil, then you would be saying that God is the author of evil. But sisters and brothers, I'm here to tell you today that this is all just another misunderstanding on the part of the ignorant and unlearned unbeliever and our enemy, the devil, to try to trick us. Because I'm going to let you see for yourself that God is not the author of evil in the sense of moral evil, because that's the evil they're talking about when he says that your God created evil or that your God is evil. That's not the evil in question when it says God creates evil. We're going to read the scripture. I'm going to give you the context. I'm going to give you the definition. It will be absolutely no problem for you to identify, after hearing this class, what evil is in question when the word evil is mentioned in the Bible. Context alone is going to reveal it. After this class, anytime you read the word evil in the Bible, in any context, they're going to be able to pretty much figure out what it means. Is it about moral evil? Is it talking about hardship? Yes, sisters and brothers, sometimes the word means hardship or difficulty. Sometimes it means disaster. Sometimes it means calamity. Sometimes it means hard times. And it's the same Hebrew word being used there. But nobody wants to deal with that. So we're going to deal with that. And we're going to answer the question, is God the author of evil? And the answer is, it depends on what kind of evil you're talking about. I'm talking about moral evil. Well, if there's God created evil, we got to see if that's talking about moral evil. Now, don't we? So what we're going to do first is start it off at the very beginning to see the creation. Because if you're talking about the author of something, you're talking about the creation of something. Let's see how God started out the creation. What was his intention with the creation? We're going to start in Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 3 and 4, and then we're going to skip. This is the beginning. Let's see how God, the author and creator of the universe, started out. Did he start out creating good, or did he start out creating evil? Is he the author of good, or is he the author of evil? And if he's also the author of evil, because I don't think any atheist would debate that the Bible says that God is good. Nobody would debate that. That's in the Bible. But it's the evil part that they struggle with. We're going to start this from the beginning. I'm going to walk you all the way through. And you're going to see for yourself, wait a minute. I get it now. It's all about understanding, sisters and brothers. Nothing is impossible. With God, all things are possible. Just because a question seems like it cannot be answered does not mean it has no answer. It just means you can't answer it right now. But this is going to be one of the major questions that you can answer. And when they throw this crap at you, watch how they run when you show them you know the answer. Because they always run once they figure out you know the answer. Once they figure out you on your P's and Q's, you know this stuff, they leave you alone, which is why I always emphasize it's not me, give God the glory, but from the very moment I started out on Debate Talk for You, season 1, everybody loves to call it a challenge. By season 4 and 5, nobody challenges us anymore. I'm talking about ABT because we're giving you the answers, sisters, brothers, the undeniable answers, not cop-outs. You follow what I'm saying? Not quick little get-out-of-jail-free card answers. No, you can go right in this book and see for yourself. Even the most hard-hearted atheist and unbeliever can see, I can't stand these guys, but there's no denying the truth they're bringing. There's just no denying it. And if I try to, I will only make a fool of myself. So therefore, I'm just going to back off. And that's how you want to be. If you can't convert them, at least be able to make them retreat. Those are your only two options. Either get with it or get away. You follow what I'm saying? Not stay here, I don't want to get with it, but we're going to stay here, we're going to argue. No. So what we're going to do is start us off at Genesis 1, verses 3 and 4. Read those two verses, Jeff, and then we're going to skip. Go ahead, please.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness.
It says, and God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. If you notice from the very beginning, when God created something, he called it good. And we're going to look up that word good in the Hebrew a little later. It said it was good. And you're going to see a pattern here with the creation, with the authorship. Good, good, good. From the beginning, right? Now skip down, read verse 10.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 10. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good.
There it is again. God saw that it was good. Have you ever wondered, Jeff, how when you read this account, and it's different from other creation accounts in other mythologies, because other mythologies describe order out of chaos, like it was just chaotic, and then order came out of that. That's not how the Bible describes the creation. It says when God created stuff, he said it was good. Ever wonder why every time God created something, it says it was good? Have you ever wondered that, Jeff? There's a reason. I'm going to show y'all what that reason is. Why every time he created something, he said it's good? Well, because he's trying to show you that he is the author of good. Well, somebody say, well, I look at this world today, it don't look good to me. No, it doesn't. And it isn't. Not the way God intended it to be. It said he saw that it was good. Skip down, read verse 12.
Verse 12. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
And God saw that it was good. Good, good, good. Every time our God created something, he saw that it was good. There is one exception here in the creation. We're going to get with that one in a minute. Skip down, read verse 21. I'm sorry, verse 18. Verse 18. So you just read 12, right? Yeah, 18.
Yeah. Verse 18. And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
It's about, and God set them in the firmament of heaven, the two great lights, talking about the sun and the moon, to rule over the day and to rule over the night. So he saw that that was good. The sun and the moon, the stars too. It was good. Your God is a God of good. His creation is inherently good, everything we've read about so far. In other words, these things that you've read about so far that God created, they are inherently good. There's nothing evil about these. They don't have any potential to be evil. You follow what I'm saying? They are good in the sense of God creating it for the purpose that he created it for, and it is doing what God created it for. It is agreeing with God's intention. That's what it means when it says God thought that it was good. Besides being inherently good because God created it. You follow what I'm saying? Now read verse 21.
Verse 21. And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
So now we're dealing with sea creatures and animals that fly. You follow what I'm saying? And he said they are good. Good. It could have easily said God created this, God created that. Let's keep it moving. It keeps telling you these things are good. Why is that? Because God wants us to understand something about his creative intention. He created things to be good. These things right here that he created, they are inherently good. Unfortunately, God did not create man that same way. That's what people don't understand. Let me show you what I mean. We're going to keep reading. Skip down, verse 25.
Verse 25. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
Now we're dealing with the land animals and, bugs and things of that nature. It says, and God saw that it was good. Right? He thought it was good. Every time God created something, he said that it was good. Except, read verse 27. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
Go ahead.
And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
If you notice, now read verse 31, and I'm going to explain something. Read verse 31.
Verse 31, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
Now, we know when it says everything, it means everything that he specifically said was good. Because everything that he created, it said he thought it was good. If you keep reading, he thought it was good, he thought it was good, he thought it was good. But when you get to man, it doesn't say that, does it, Jeff?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't say that. Why doesn't it say that about man, Jeff? Have you noticed that? Does that mean that man is evil?
You said, did it say that man was evil?
Yes. Does it say? I said, does that mean that man was created to be evil?
No, but I would think that they had the option of being evil if they wanted.
Exactly. See, everything else that God created is inherently good, meaning that as long as nothing disturbs it, it will do what it was created to do. That's what it means to be inherently good or inherently evil. So why didn't God say that man was good when he created them? Because he didn't create man to be inherently good. If he did, then men would be like robots and never sin.
That's right.
But because he gave us free will, he couldn't say man was good. It don't mean that you're no good. It don't mean that God created some junk. It just means that it would be a lie if he called you good inherently because he didn't create you inherently good. You cannot make something inherently good and at the same time give it free will.
That's right.
You cannot do that. You follow what I'm saying? Because the two contradict one another. If I say Jeff is inherently good, that means it's in him to only do good or whatever I created him to do. Then Jeff would never sin. Well, you say, well, Josh, he called on the animals and stuff good, and now they're doing all kinds of crazy things. That's because he put a creature that was not inherently created good over everything. See, man is over the animals and stuff. If man was not created, then the animals would have never got thrown off. When Adam sinned, that threw everything off, sisters and brothers. But we have to understand that God did not create man to be evil. He created man to have free will. But what God did create concerning evil is the possibility to do evil. Then somebody might say, well, that's the same thing. No, that's not the same thing. Because at the same time, you have free will. Well, why didn't God just make us all robots? Well, if he made us all robots, we wouldn't be having this conversation now, would we? We wouldn't have any free will. So if you ask me, is God the author of some moral evil, I would say no. But if you ask me, did God create the possibility to be immorally evil, I would say yes. And then if you turn around and ask me, are they the same thing, I would say no, and I'm going to show you why they're not the same thing. The possibility to do something and actually doing something are two different things. God wants us to have free will. So why did God create the possibility of us to even be able to go to hell in the first place? Well, if God is creating us out of love, because the Bible will tell you that too, he loved us. If he's creating us out of love and he's giving us free will, and in other classes we can show you that he's creating you to be God, just like him, then what kind of God would you be if you didn't have any free will?
Mm-hmm.
He's creating you to be God. And last time I checked, when you're a God, you decide what happens and what doesn't happen. So you can't tell me that God is going to give you the ability to be God and at the same time make you a robot. Then you're not really God, because by the very definition of God, you pick. You decide. See, nobody wants to get this philosophical with it, Jeff. They keep it too one-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? So I get real analytical with this stuff. But I'm pointing stuff out to you. Man was not inherently created good or evil. That's why I laugh when people try to say the white man is the devil. You can't show me one person in this Bible that God inherently created good. Because if you're telling me that that the white man is inherently the devil, then that would imply that there are people who are created that are inherently good. That means they will never do any wrong. That by their nature, they're good people. That is bull. You can't read that about no race of people in this Bible, and we're taking you to the creation, and you can't show me one place where it says God created man and saw that he was good. You see how much you learn from just reading the very beginning of your book, Jeff? Do you see that?
Sure did.
we got to get away from this superiority complex. Israel, we are not inherently good people. We are not inherently bad people, though we do have a tendency to lean more toward the bad. But remember, inherently means you were created that way. And if God inherently made you one or the other, then what that would mean is that you really don't have free will. That means he already pre-programmed you to do good or evil. Which means you're not really making a choice, which will contradict what we're going to read later on. He gave you a choice, sisters and brothers. Now, don't get it twisted. I can show you and have shown you in other classes where God can rob you of your free will. I can show y'all that. But that's only when you get to a point where you're just going against him. But let's keep it moving. What we're going to do now is we're going to look up the word translated good in the Strong's Concordance. And I'm going to show you that it has a variety of definitions. You just can't say good. That means moral good. Nope, not that simple, sisters and brothers. This is the Hebrew word for good. It's 2896 in the Hebrew section. 2896, the word translated good. And it's tov. And it says from Hebrew 2895, first definition, good, as an adjective. Now listen to this. In the widest sense, the widest. I mean, it covers a lot of definitions and meanings, sisters and brothers. Used likewise as a noun, both in the masculine and the feminine, the singular and the plural. Good, these are definitions. Good, a good or good thing, a good man or woman, the good or good thing, good men or women. Also, as in adverb, beautiful. Listen to this. Good can also mean beautiful. That's a descriptive term, right, Jeff?
Yes.
We use the name, oh man, that woman looks good. You don't mean morally good when you say that. You ever heard somebody say that before? Oh, that girl looks good. You don't think it's talking about her moral character? It definitely can't be talking about her moral character if you're in a strip club. Just keeping it real. There are beautiful or good-looking women in a strip club, but that word good ain't got nothing to do with her morals, does it?
That's right.
Think about that. It's real simple, right? It says good, a good or good thing, a good, okay, we already read that, beautiful, best, better, bountiful. That means plenty, right? Abundance, right? Cheerful, like you got a good attitude. Look at these words, sisters and brothers. Pay attention, because the same can be said about the word evil. It says, at ease, be in favor, find, gladness, graciously, joyful. I'm just kind of speeding through these. Pleasant, pleaser. Y'all get it. And we use this word the same way in the English language, so nobody can be like, well, that's just limited to the Hebrew. So when it says that everything God created was good, if you read through it in the context of it, if it's somehow an inanimate object, an object that's not conscious, right? Then it's not talking about moral good. The sun is not morally good. The moon is not morally evil. Y'all understand what I'm saying? It means good in another sense. Same thing with the earth. Same thing with the animals. Animals have no morals. They never have. You follow what I'm saying? So when it says he thought it was good, it had to mean good in the sense of for God's intended purposes that he created them for. Because last time I checked, Jeff, the sun still gives light upon the earth during the day, and the moon still gives light upon the earth at night. And it tells you that's what God created them to do, right?
That's right.
So as long as they're still doing that, that means they are good. There are some things in God's creation that he said that was good, that because of man is no longer all good. People who into farm work can tell you there are certain ways you're supposed to till the land, and God gave instructions in the law about that. And if you don't till the land and let it rest for a number of years, then guess what's going to happen? That land will no longer be good. It will be bad. But it's not talking about moral bad. But let me show you something else. Now let's go back to Genesis chapter 2. And we're going to read verse 9. This is the first time the word evil appears in the Bible. All this time you've been reading good. And then you get to Genesis chapter 2, and now the word evil, as opposed to good, appears for the first time. Which is crazy because the unbeliever want to dive all the way into the middle of the Bible, like in Isaiah and Amos, and show you where it says God did evil, but you want to skip over everything that he said was good, and you are missing out on a lot of information between the good in Genesis and the evil in Isaiah and Amos. A lot has happened and changed since then. That's why I always call a lot of people novices. And they take it as an insult. Being called a novice is not an insult, sisters and brothers. It just means you're a beginner. That means you lack understanding. And a lot of people who attack the Bible are novices. They are. There's just no getting around it. You are a novice. You don't know this Bible. Because if you did, you would know that God is not the author of immoral evil. He's not immorally evil himself. I'm going to show you that. Well, God created everybody, and people can do evil. That makes him the author of evil. No, that makes him the author of the possibility of evil. Well, that's the same thing. Nope, not if you got free will. If we did not have free will and evil, and we still did evil things, then God would be the author of evil in the sense of moral evil. Because he would be the sole person responsible for the evil we do to each other. So there is a difference between being the author of evil and the author of the possibility of evil. Two different things, sisters and brothers. Well, why God do anything? Look, when you start asking questions like that, that's when you need to go take a journey on top of a high mountain and just pray. Because these are the type of questions that cannot be answered by me or anybody else. If I knew those answers, then I would be God. And they get mad because there are questions you can't answer. I got news for you, sisters and brothers. If you stop believing in the Bible, there's still going to be questions you can't answer. When you are an atheist, there are still questions you can't answer. Now, why is it okay and comfortable for you to be an atheist and not be able to answer questions, but because you couldn't answer questions as believers, the Bible is bad. Look, when you became an atheist, they didn't give you any to create answers. It creates more questions.
That's right.
Let's be serious here. We evolved from what? The water. So we could breathe underwater at one time. Yeah. So were we okay with that? What do you mean? Well, why would we evolve to the point where we need lungs if we were perfectly okay breathing with gills in the water? Because what y'all say is that evolution, some scientists say, is a product of necessity. Well, what necessitated us to have to evolve and have lungs? And if that's the case, why is it that if I get in the water now, I can't breathe underwater? When I thought evolution meant to become better. That means I should be able to breathe on land and underwater. That's evolution right there. If you tell me I started out in the water with the ability to breathe in the water and I evolved, that means I should be able to do more than that, not lose one ability to gain another. That's not true evolution. That's a trade-off. That's what that's called. Y'all, when you really just ask questions like that, you can't answer that question, but you're still perfectly comfortable being an atheist. But you want me to be uncomfortable as a believer just because I don't have all the answers. That's not fair. You're not playing fair. You follow what I'm saying? There are just as many questions to answer as an atheist as there are as a believer. So let's not even play that game. That's why people don't like to talk to me, Jeff, about these kind of things as an atheist, because they know I see right through the games. At the end of the day, you are no better off than me. In fact, you're worse off than me. And in another class, I can prove that to you. Right? So this is Genesis 2, one verse, verse 9. Go ahead, please.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 9. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Now, out of the ground, which can also say out of the earth or the dirt, made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight. That's just like saying that looks good, right? And good for food, meaning good to eat. Same Hebrew word, tob. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So now we have the word evil appearing for the very first time in the Bible. So now we have to look that up in the Hebrew as well. And the dictionary, because this is what we're really trying to understand, that word evil. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I've seen people just misunderstand this. Oh, it wasn't a literal tree. It was Satan. He's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Really? Okay. It's all allegorical. Okay. Well, who's the serpent? He's Satan too. Not a literal serpent. Okay, wait. So the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that's Satan, yeah. And the serpent is Satan, yeah. How many different roles is Satan playing in this story? You know how you watch movies and you got one character playing multiple roles? Y'all know how Eddie Murphy likes to play different characters in a movie? You know what I'm saying? That's what you're basically telling me here. The role of the tree of knowledge of good and evil will be played by Satan. Also, the role of the serpent will be played by Satan. No. The serpent is not Satan, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil is not Satan. Satan was behind the serpent, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil has nothing to do with Satan at all. Y'all understand that? And I'm going to show you that. But first, we're going to look up the word translated evil. It's 7451 in the Hebrew section. And listen to this. The word is ra. Now, here's what's funny. I just got to say this, Jeff. The Egyptologists like to try to use certain words in the Bible to try to link the Bible to Egypt. Like they try to say Israel, Is-Ra-El, Isis, Ra, and El, even though in the original Hebrew it's not pronounced Is-Ra-El, it's Yiz with a Y sound. Ra-El.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? But as long as you want to associate words with Egyptian deities, then in the Hebrew language, the word for evil is Ra. And that's the Egyptian god named Ra. So I can say, if I play those little silly word games that they play, that the Bible is saying anything evil points to Ra. Therefore, I need to stay the heck away from Egypt. See, that's what happens when you play these little word games, Jeff. It can backfire drastically because I can use the same line of reasoning to get rid of Ra. And Ra was one of the supreme deities in the Egyptian pantheon. But this has nothing to do with the Egyptian deity Ra. And don't nobody better try to take that from this and try to say, well, Ra means, bad, and Ra is the god of Egypt. I'm not teaching you that. I'm showing you how people can play with that. And don't be deceptive and try to use that. I'm showing you this not for you to use it, but for you to see that you should not do that. Right? It says Ra from Hebrew 7489. First definition, bad. As a noun. It says evil, naturally or morally. This includes the second feminine form as adjective or noun. Look what it means also besides bad or evil. Adversity. We all face adversity every day, Jeff.
That's
so if
right.
you had severe adversity, do you know what the ancient Hebrews would call that? They would call that Ra. They would call that evil. So it can mean adversity. It can mean affliction. That word evil can mean affliction. Any kind of affliction you're going through. Or that somebody is putting upon you. That's Ra. Evil. Right? Look what else it means. Bad. Calamity. Any kind of trouble. See, already we begin to open our eyes. Wait a minute. But this is the same word translated evil in the Bible. In the Old Testament, in the Hebrew. This is a wide variety of definitions. So already, Jeff, you're starting to see when it says that God created evil, it don't necessarily mean the kind of evil they're trying to put on him, right?
That's right.
But we're going to show you that. I'm going to give you the context. I'm going to let you see. I don't want you to guess. I want you to know. This is why I took you from the beginning, to see how your God operates. Your God is an author of good, but he's also the author of the possibility of evil. And the possibility of evil is not the same thing as being the author of evil. The only way you can say that's the same thing is if he created us to be robots, and yet we still do evil. Because the only person responsible would be him, because we have no free will. So he created the possibility. I'm going to show you that it says that. Yes, he created the possibility. I'm going to show you that, right? But look what else it says. Displeased, distress, bringing distress upon you. Evil favoriteness, evil man, evil thing, exceedingly evil, great, grief, harm, heavy, hurtful. I'm just going through these. That's good enough. I'm going to let the context from this point on, when we read it, determine it. So already we can see, wait a minute. And by the way, sisters and brothers, this is the same word translated evil. It's not a different Hebrew word. It's Ra all the way through. but it has a wide variety of meanings, right? But now let me show you this. We're going to go to the dictionary. First, we're going to go to my favorite dictionary because it's old, Webster's New World Dictionary of the American Language, 1959 edition. We're going to look up the word evil. This is page 261. Listen to this definition. Evil, morally bad or wrong, wicked, depraved. That's the first definition, and this is the definition that the unbeliever wants to put on our God when he says, I create evil, or I bring evil. They're trying to say he's bringing moral bad, wickedness, or wrong. Moral, which means that if he's doing that, in that sense, that would mean that he is an evil God, just like the devil. That's what they're trying to make you believe from this definition. Well, let's see what else the English language has to say about the word evil. 2, harmful, injurious. Wait a minute. This is an English dictionary we're reading here, Jeff. Something harmful or injurious does not necessarily have to be morally bad, does it, Jeff?
No, it doesn't.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. Is fire harmful and injurious?
Yes, it is, depending on how you use it.
But in everyday language, would you call it evil? In today's language,
no.
Would you use evil to describe it? What would you use to describe it? You say that's dangerous. That's what you would say. That's dangerous, right? But see, the ancient Hebrews, they use the word evil to describe things like this. See, in today's language, like for instance, I work in construction. When something is dangerous, we have like red ticker tape, and we write the word danger on it, right? But if you were back in ancient Israel, say we were back in ancient Israel, but with today's technology, they would write on that ticker tape evil. And everybody would understand that it's not talking about moral evil. It just means something that can harm you or something that's dangerous. Something that would be disastrous if you cross the ticker tape. Are you understanding what I'm telling you, Jeff? You getting it?
Yes, sir.
That's how they use that word. So when you get to the English language, they use the same word, and because you got ignorant amateurs, see that word evil, the first definition they want to jump on, see, morally bad, wrong, see, your God is wrong, wicked, your God is wicked, depraved, your God is depraved. They don't understand. But listen to this. It says, unlucky. Wait, that's the word evil, unlucky? So if somebody said, man, I tried to play the lottery. I've been trying to play for years, and I keep losing. Somebody would say, you're unlucky. But if you were back in ancient Israel, they'll say, man, you've been having some evil luck. But that has nothing to do with moral evil or something being bad. And we say bad luck. We don't mean immorally bad. See, even in the English language, we didn't even have to go to the Hebrew language, Jeff. I just did that just for deeper insight. But even in the English language, you can see when you see that word evil, as it applies to God, it does not necessarily mean immoral evil or an evil God. We don't serve an evil God, sisters and brothers. I hate to tell the unbelievers that. You're wrong. We don't serve an evil God. We serve a good God. Well, it says he brings evil and he creates evil. We're going to read the scriptures that you like to go to, and we're going to get the context. And we're going to see if it's about immoral evil or if it's about tragedy, disaster. Because one of the words is disastrous. This is definition 4. Resulting from conduct regarded as immoral. You know, conduct regarded as immoral. You call that evil, like when we break God's law. That's evil. You follow what I'm saying? Conduct regarded as immoral. The law or Torah defines what's good and what's evil. So our conduct determines if we're good or evil. Not what you claim you believe, sisters and brothers. It's your conduct. And even the English dictionary knows this. Now listen to this. It says, as an evil reputation. When you do evil, you get an evil reputation. That's a bad reputation, or a reputation for doing bad things, right? And then it says, as a noun, to cause, it says, causes harm. Oh, I'm sorry, definition 2, I'm sorry. Anything that causes harm, pain, disaster. Anything that does that. It didn't even say anyone, Jeff. It said anything. The Hebrews would call that evil. So why is it that every time the unbeliever or the Bible basher sees the word evil, they want to make it mean immorally bad or a wicked person or a wicked creator? Why do they want to do that? When even the English language lets you see that's not what the word evil always means. We ain't even have to go to the Hebrew, y'all. In this case, the English dictionary enough is plenty to reveal that it doesn't mean that. But look what it says right here. It says, this is what we're looking for, the devil. That's one of the definitions of evil, the devil. Now, the devil is immorally wicked. His conduct makes him wicked. His intentions make him wicked or evil. We have to grow up, sisters and brothers. We have to understand that word evil, even in the English language, has a wide variety of use. But because of how we talk and think today, nobody used the word evil in the sense of disaster. I remember one time I was joking with Lisa, and I sent her all of these complicated algebra problems. You know, we just play little games like that. And I sent her a real complicated algebra problem. And she called the algebra problem evil. And I didn't understand. I said, how can an algebra problem be evil? That don't even make any sense. But you know what? When you look up this definition in the Hebrew, one of the definitions it gave us was difficulty. And it was a difficult problem. So it makes sense for her to call it evil. But that sounded strange because nobody used that type of terminology to describe the difficulty level of a math problem. See, you're learning something here, sisters and brothers. That word evil don't just mean something immorally bad or wicked. It can mean something difficult. It can mean something challenging. It can mean bad luck. It can mean hard times. So now, let's move on. Because I want to deal with this tree of knowledge of good and evil a little bit. Because people will say, okay, Josh, you proved that. But your God still placed a temptation on his creation with the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He didn't want them to partake of it. And he knew that they would, and he knew that they would fail. So that's evil. That's entrapment. Get understanding on that. Let's go to Genesis. Back to Genesis. We got that. We're going to fix this up for you. Genesis chapter 2. Whoa. Before I do that, let me read the definition out of this other dictionary. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But hold your spot there in Genesis. Webster's New Explorer College Dictionary. Let's read a more modern definition. Well, it's an old definition. This is the word evil here, right? Look what it says. Evil, a morally bad, is a definition 1, a morally bad, wicked, sinful. B, arising from bad character or conduct, a person of evil reputation, we read in the other dictionary. 2, causing discomfort or repulsion. Something called discomfort. That's evil, right? Not morally evil. Offensive, as an evil odor. Wait a minute. You mean the word evil can be used to describe a bad odor, Josh?
Wow.
That word has a wide variety of uses in the English language, right? It says disagreeable. Something that's disagreeable. That's evil. That's why God said his creation was good, because it agreed with everything he created it to do. Right? It says, in an evil mood. There's somebody in an evil mood, too. They can be disagreeing. 3, causing harm. Pernicious. Y'all know that means dangerous. Marked by misfortune. Same thing as unlucky, bad luck. An evil day. We're going to read about that, too. An evil day. Not moral evil. That's a bad day. You wouldn't come home from work just to tell your wife, she said, how you work your day at work? Oh, my day was evil. Would you say that, bro?
No.
We don't use it that way, but that's what it can mean. You know, I like to joke a lot, so I would probably, man, my day was just evil. It was just evil. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I mean, right? But I wouldn't be using that word out of context, right? This is definition 2. Evil. The fact of suffering. When you're suffering, the Hebrews call that evil. But this is English, brother. Misfortune and wrongdoing. That's the moral evil, wrongdoing, right? Something that brings sorrow or calamity. These are definitions for evil, y'all. So why is it, Joe, that every time a non-believer want to attack the Bible and they read about God bringing evil, they want to make it be the very first definition, wicked, evil, bad conduct. Why do they want to do that? Because they don't understand.
Because they have lack of understanding and they just want to find fault with the Bible. A lot of people ask questions not for answers or just, the debate.
Exactly. But you can see right now. So now that we see, I want to give you the definition first. I want to give y'all the definition. And then I'm going to give y'all the context, and y'all will be able to tell for yourself if the places they go are referring to immoral evil or another definition of evil that we've been reading. Now let's go back to Genesis chapter 2. I want to deal with this tree of knowledge of good and evil. They try to throw this at you too. Today is cleanup day. Genesis chapter 2. Now we're going to read verses 15 to 17. Go ahead and read when you get there.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. And the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die.
Now, this is an example, the first example, in fact, of God creating the possibility of evil. Y'all understand? This is the first example in the Bible of God giving man a choice. And he told them, if you eat of this tree, you shall die. Now, the problem with most people is because God told this man that if he eat of this tree, he shall die, the tree must be evil. That's the common interpretation. Regardless of what you think it represents or is, that's why the Israel of God teach people that it is Satan. That is blasphemy, sisters and brothers. This tree does not represent Satan. It does not represent inherent evil. Because if it did, then what you are saying is that God created something evil for the purpose of making his creation fail. And that's not what this is saying here. Well, God created the devil, right? Yep, he created the devil and all the angels with free will. They fall in the same category of free will. They have a choice. If they didn't have a choice, as Islam teaches, because Islam teaches that angels don't have free will. All inherently good. Right? They don't believe in fallen angels, but they believe in jinn. Well, jinns are like demons, so that's the Arabic equivalent of demons. So who created the demons? Well, Allah did. So Allah created the demons or the jinn, and he gave them the ability to do right or wrong. No, the jinns are just inherently evil. Okay, so now I'm confused now. Because according to Islam, God created beings that are inherently evil and that torture man. It don't fit right with me, because what you're telling me is that we serve a God that created beings that are inherently evil. While the Bible tells us that everything that God created with a conscience had the free will to choose to obey or rebel against God. That includes angels too, sisters and brothers. Demons too. Demons have the ability to not be evil. They got free will too. If you don't believe it, look how they begged Jesus when he came on the scene. Let us go away into the swine. Anybody that has the ability to beg for mercy after doing wrong had the ability not to do wrong to begin with. Otherwise, you wouldn't beg for mercy. You say, look, I'm this way because that's the way you made me. When you tell people that God created Esau, who you say is the white man, to be the devil, then you are saying God is the author of immoral evil. I hope you understand that. See, the black Hebrews don't understand that they're actually cursing God when they say stuff like that. Even the devil had a choice, sisters and brothers. The devil was not created inherently evil. He was created with a choice. He could have obeyed God or he could have rebelled. That's the God we serve. We serve a God that creates the possibility of evil. But you cannot have free will, sisters and brothers, without the possibility of evil. Show me how that's possible. Somebody show me how you can have free will without the possibility of evil. How can you do that? From the moment God gives you the ability to obey him or disobey him, then you also create at the same moment the possibility of evil. So who creates evil then? Where does evil come from? It is created when you choose not to obey your God. That's why I say God created the possibility of evil, immoral evil, not evil itself. You follow what I'm saying? So, it says, if they eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they will surely die, right? The day they eat of it, they will surely die. Somebody will say, well, the day they ate of it, they didn't die. Does it mean, sisters and brothers, we clear up more stuff, that the day that they eat it, on that very day that they eat it, they would die? Does it mean that, or does it mean the day that you eat it, you'll die eventually? See, people get real literal with this. It doesn't mean that the moment they eat of the tree, they take a bite, they drop dead right then, that day. Or they would be dead within that day. No, it does not mean that, sisters and brothers. Remember, in another class, I showed you that Adam and Eve were created immortal. It was when they disobeyed God that they lost their immortality. If you are immortal and you lose your immortality, the very day you lose your immortality, in a sense, you have died because you're going to die one day.
Mm-hmm.
So when God told them the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die, he did not mean you died spiritually. I hear people say that. Even though in a sense they did die spiritually because they lost the spiritual connection they had with God. But that's not what he's talking about here. What he's telling them is that the day you eat thereof, you're going to die. Not you're going to die that day. You follow what I'm saying? We get too literal with this. We don't understand how the Hebrew word stuff. You can go into prophecy and read a bunch of prophecies that is impossible for all that stuff to happen in one literal day. Would it be like, on that day? You follow what I'm saying? That's impossible for all of that stuff to happen in a single day. It just means at that time or sometime in the future. So when he said, the day that you eat thereof, you shall die. That means after you eat of that tree, at some point in the future, you will die. And that's what happened. So God was not lying. They try to say that too. Your God was lying. See, the devil said if they eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, their eyes going to be open. They're going to know good and evil. Did that happen? Yeah. But your God said that if they eat of the tree, that day, they're going to die. Did they die? Did they know? So the devil was telling the truth, and your God was lying. Ergo, we should really be worshiping the devil. I've seen you flip it like that, Jeff. In fact, I've seen Shaka almost flip it like that. So these people really want you to worship the devil, but they're not paying attention to what the Bible is saying. They don't understand the terminology. The day you eat thereof, you shall surely die. Not you're going to die that very day, or you will be dead before that day is over when you eat it. But that's not even why I went here. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. They try to say God put this here as entrapment. He did not want them to eat of this tree. No, he didn't, sisters and brothers. But that was not going to be forever. We have to understand something else. And I'm going to prove it. We serve a God that doesn't give us everything all at once. He gradually feeds us and introduces us to things. In other words, sisters and brothers, I'm telling you, and I'm going to prove it, that one day God would allow Adam and Eve to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This was just their first that he gave them. Their first example of the possibility of evil. But I'm going to prove that to y'all. Now that you see that, let's go over to chapter 3. Read verses 1 to 7. Let me show y'all something. You got to be careful, man. Satan is slick. He's very slick. And therefore he got slick servants. Go ahead and read that, Jeff. 1 to 7.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden.
Notice it starts out with a question. Notice it always starts out with a question, Jeff. Who's the better devil's advocate than the devil? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's who's behind this serpent. Starts out with a question. Hey, did God say ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And then he's asking he's asking a legitimate question, but notice he's asking it in a negative way. He's asking it in a very pessimistic way. See, he's saying the same thing. He's not lying in the question, but the question is already making God seem unfair. See, he could have easily said, did God say you can eat every tree in the garden except for this one little tree? See, in that way, he's emphasizing everything God let them do versus the one thing he restricted. But in this way, he's asking the question like he don't even know that God gave them all these abundance of trees and only restricted one. He said, Yea, have God said you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Look how the question is. God said, every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This guy saying, did he say you can't eat of every tree?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. You saw he's flipping it and making it seem negative. You got to pay attention to little stuff like this. And those guys who like to attack the Bible, these Egyptologists, these atheists, these Muslims, yes, Muslims attack the Bible too. They come at you the same way about your God. They'll say to you, why did God drown the Egyptians? Why did God keep hardening Pharaoh's heart? Okay, all of that stuff is in the Bible. I'm not going to run from that. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't harsh, that it wasn't brutal. But why don't they come to you and say, what did our people do to make your God do that to us? Oh, now that's a legitimate question. How about punishing us with servitude after one of our own saved Egypt from a famine that would have killed all of them? The next Pharaoh forgot about all of that, put them into slavery, brutalized them, treated them like they were nobody, right? Well, they say that God told the children of Israel to spoil the Egyptians. That means rob the Egyptians. See, your God is telling people to steal from other people. Whoa. Let's not forget, for the last 400 years, children of Israel was afflicted by these people as slaves. So when you work for somebody as a slave, that means you working for free. So if I'm robbing you, then in a sense, I'm not really stealing from you per se. I'm just taking back what you've been owing me for the last 400 years.
Yeah, that's right.
See, ain't nobody looking at it like that, though. See, they want to focus on, and every time these people who like represent Egypt want to start attacking God, they always want to focus on what finally ticked God off. They don't want to focus on what made them mad.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying? They don't ever want to talk about that. They always want to play the victim. You follow what I'm saying? That's what atheists and unbelievers of the Bible like to do. And this is what Satan is trying to do. Satan is trying to make Adam and Eve look like victims. Like God is somehow holding something back from them. And I'm going to show you that. Now read verse 2.
Verse 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die.
Now, I don't recall God saying they couldn't touch it. Maybe he did say that, and it just wasn't recorded, and she's repeating it. Or maybe he didn't say that, and she just inferred from that she shouldn't touch it. In either case, if God would have told me not to eat or something, my best bet would be not to touch it anyway, so I wouldn't get tempted to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying? So she says, let ye die, or you will die. Now, watch what the serpent says. Go ahead.
Verse 4, and the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God doeth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil.
Now let's stop right here. Let's get a little analytical here, Jeff. You shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Well, let me ask you a question, Jeff, that's never asked. Adam and Eve already know good. We know they didn't know evil, but did they already know good?
That's a good question.
Well, what do you think?
I would say yes.
Of course, yes. You know why? Because everything you read before God created man, he said it was good. So you can't create all of this stuff, call it good, and then set man right smack in the middle of it, and he don't know about good.
Okay, right.
Remember, everything God created was good, right? Everything. Everything. They knew about good already. They did not know about immoral evil yet. You follow what I'm saying? They knew as long as you are obeying God, you know good, moral good. Remember, this was the first possibility of evil that God set before man. The first possibility. Paul said, by one man's disobedience, sin came into the world. Which means before that, prior to that, man was obedient. This is the only thou shalt not God ever gave man. So man was obeying God up to that point until they decided to not obey God and listen to the devil using the serpent. See, I'm not going to deny that God creates the possibility of evil, but I will deny that the possibility of evil and creating evil in itself, immoral evil, God does not do that. But I can show you in another class that God can take people's free will away from them, people who are already evil, and use them to do immoral evil against other people who are immorally evil. But that's still not an unjust God, because God is not going to take a man who is doing exactly what he wants him to do or is trying to serve him and just make that man evil, immorally evil. He's not going to do that. God only does that to people who are already being evil by choice. But look at this stuff right here, right? He said, you shall be as God, knowing good and evil. They already knew good because everything God had created was good. They already knew that. They already knew about moral good. They did not know about evil as opposed to moral good. God was going to tell them about that. God was going to even let them have this tree at some point. Don't prove that, y'all. He was going to let them get it. Just wasn't ready for them to get it yet, for whatever reason. Now, read verse 6. Let's see if Satan was telling any kind of truth. Go ahead and read.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons.
Okay, so far the serpent said, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Well, verse 7 says that their eyes were open. Now skip down and read verse 22. Let's see if anything else he said was true.
Verse 22. And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever.
So he said the man has become as one of us, the God, to know good and evil. So the serpent was telling some truth, but he wasn't telling absolute truth, because they did die. The serpent said, ye shall not surely die. The serpent did not say, ye shall not surely die that day. Even the serpent understood that when God said, the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die. Even the serpent understood that God did not mean the moment you take a bite, you're going to drop dead, or you will be dead within that day. He just said, ye shall not surely die. Now, if the serpent would have said, ye shall not surely die that day, and they lived beyond that day, then yes, the serpent would have proved God a liar. But even the serpent understood that when God said, the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die, he meant at some point. Because at one time, Adam and Eve would never die. Even he understood that. So the serpent did lie. And he did not even try to get specific with it. He just said, you shall not surely die. Period. If Adam died at any point, I don't care if Adam lived 1,000,000 years and then died. That means the serpent lied, because he said, ye shall not surely die. But the point is, their eyes were open, and they became as God, knowing good and evil. Now the question just is, why would God deliberately put a tree pleasant to the sight, tempting even, in the midst of other beautiful trees, if he never had any intention of them taking part of it? Even I would admit that seems a little crude.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that God never intended for them to get it? Remember, this was the first possibility of evil, the first real choice God gave Adam and Eve to obey or disobey him. Let me show you something. We're going to go to the book of Enoch. We're going to go to Enoch chapter 32. For all of y'all who have challenges understanding the Roman numerals, there will be XXXII. 33. I'm going to show you that God never intended for Adam and Eve to never partake of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it would give them wisdom, just like the serpent said. So this is Enoch chapter 32, and we're going to read verses 1 to 4. So, Josh, why are you all in the book of Genesis? Why are you going through all the motions with this evil? Because I wanted to take you from the beginning. You can't jump into the middle of this Bible and think you understand what evil is and all that. You got to start from the beginning. They dive into the middle of your Bible. Then they try to tell you contradictions. See, it says that God does no evil. Then I'm showing you that God wrought evil. See, contradiction. I got to close the book. No. What kind of evil we talking about here? What you mean, what kind of evil? We talking about evil, witches. No, we're not always just talking about that. And once you start talking like that, and you're really dealing with somebody who's really interested in learning, they're going to get a little quiet. So, okay, so show me the difference. Right? But this is Enoch 32, verses 1 to 4. Go ahead and read.
The book of Enoch, chapter 32, verse 1. And after these fragrant odors, as I looked towards the north, over the mountains, I saw 7 mountains full of choice nard and fragrant trees and cinnamon and pepper.
Now, this is Enoch in one of his series of visions that he had. Right? Now, he said he saw fragrant trees. Go ahead and read.
Verse 2. And thence I went over the summits of all these mountains, far towards the east of the earth, and passed above the Erythraean Sea, and went far from it, and passed over the angel Zotiel, and I came to the garden of righteousness. And from afar off I saw trees, more numerous than these trees, and 2 great trees there, very great, beautiful, and glorious, and magnificent, and the tree of knowledge, whose holy fruit they eat, and know great wisdom.
Wait a minute. This is Enoch in a vision seeing something in the future. He said, and I came to the garden of righteousness. This is a reference to the new Garden of Eden, which shows you something else. You have to be righteous to be a part of the new Garden of Eden, just like Adam and Eve had to be righteous to be a part of the old Garden of Eden, which is why they were kicked out of the old Garden of Eden, because they disobeyed God. But it says, and I came to the garden of righteousness, and from afar off trees more numerous than these trees, and great 2 trees there, very great, beautiful, and glorious, and magnificent. And the tree of knowledge, this is about the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we're going to prove that to you, whose holy fruit they eat and know great wisdom. It called it holy fruit. So how can the tree of knowledge of good and evil be facing, as the Israel of God falsely teaches, if it has holy fruit? And why are the righteous eating of it in the future if God never wanted anybody to have it, Jeff?
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? That's how I know that God never permanently restricted Adam and Eve from that fruit. He was going to let them partake of it at a certain point. Right? Now, read verse 4. This is going to let you know that it's come out that tree. Go ahead and read.
Verse 4. That tree is in height like the fir, and its leaves are like those of the carob tree, and its fruit is like the clusters of the vine, very beautiful, and the fragrance of the tree penetrates afar.
So it's a very beautiful tree, just like it told you in Genesis. It was a tree pleasant to the sight. That means beautiful, right? But keep reading.
Verse 5. Then I said, how beautiful is the tree, and how attractive is its look. Then Raphael, the holy angel who was with me, answered me and said, this is the tree of wisdom, of which thy father old in years, and thy aged mother, who were before thee, have eaten. And they learned wisdom, and their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden.
So we know this is the same tree of knowledge of good and evil. Right, Jeff? You can plainly see that, right?
That's right. It's right there.
But it told you also that in the future, those who are in the garden of righteousness will be eating of this holy fruit and learning great wisdom. This is not a reference to Satan, sisters and brothers. This was a literal tree, but God put it there as the possibility for evil. But why would he do that, Josh? Because he gave you free will. He can't give you free will without the possibility of evil. Otherwise, it's not true free will. And that's how God always operates. Our God creates the possibility to do evil. Satan tries to make you be evil. That's the difference. And let me show you that. Now, let's go back to the Bible. Let's go to Deuteronomy 30. Is God the author of evil? No. Or the answer to be depends on what kind of evil you're talking about. Is he the God of immoral evil? No. Is he the author of the possibility to be immorally evil? Yes. Are those the same thing? No. How come? Because of free will. If it wasn't for free will and we were still doing evil, then yes, God would be the author of immoral evil. But as long as free will is in there, you can't be like he's the author of immoral evil. Well, if that he created evil, we're going to get to that. But first, Deuteronomy 30, verse 15. And I'm going to let y'all see through the context. See, the way I like to teach, Jeff, is by the time I've taught you so well that if you go somewhere else that I haven't even went through in the scriptures, you will be able to answer the question without me. Because you'll be able to see it. Right. I've done that before. Remember on Past Talk one day, I showed y'all in the Greek language the two words translated unclean and common in the New Testament. One is koinos, one is archithartos. Koinos meaning something that is unclean based on the person's perspective or how they view it, versus archithartos, meaning something that's inherently unclean. I showed y'all that. And then we had a little quiz. And I took y'all to the English Bible and let y'all read the scriptures, and y'all could tell from the context what Greek word was used. Then you have to look it up. You can just tell from the context. That's good teaching right there, where you can pick up on it without me after I show you. Nobody could be that manipulative, Jeff, where you know the answer without even looking it up and without even referring to me. Mm-hmm. I'm teaching you context. If I'm teaching you correct context, and then you can tell what it is and then check behind yourself and look it up, you know I'm not lying to you, because there's no way you can guess without my influence and without looking it up unless I taught you proper context. And that's all I'm doing. It's not hard, sisters and brothers. You just got to really want to learn. You got to really want it. But Deuteronomy 30, verse 15. Now read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil.
Now, when it says life and good, it's about moral good, and when it says death and evil, it's talking about immoral evil. I told y'all God created the possibility of evil by giving you free will. Now, how does the free will play in this? We're going to see in a second. But I want you to see that God said it before you. God did not create you to be a robot, sisters. I remember this show used to come on the public access channel. I forget the name of the preacher. He had this little public access show called God's Robot. Ain't no such thing as God's Robot. God ain't created no robot. He used to call us God's Robot. God ain't got no robot, sisters and brothers. He says, I set before you good and evil. That's exactly what he did with Adam and Eve with the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Why do you think it's called the tree of knowledge of good and evil, sisters and brothers? Because it will let you know it will give you the knowledge of whether you are good or evil through choice. See, God was going to tell them about evil one way or another. They wanted to learn about it the hard way. They wanted to learn about evil through action. I would have rather God just tell me about it, and I would just took his word for it. Mm-hmm. You follow what I'm saying? So he says, I set before you. That's possibility. God put in it. I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to run from it. God does put the possibility in your face. I set before you. That means in your presence. He's the one doing it. But it is not the same as being the author of evil. He's the author of the possibility of evil. Now, let's see where the choice comes in at. Skip down and read verse 19.
Verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live.
Now look what it says. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death. We read in verse 15, life represents good, death represents evil. Because if you do good, you get life. If you do evil, you get death. So when he said, I have set before you life and death, he's telling you, I have set before you good and evil. And when he said choose life, he said choose the good. But he's not denying them that he set evil before you as well. He's not denying that. I don't deny that. I do not deny that we worship a God that created the possibility of evil. That does not bother me one bit. It shouldn't bother you either as a believer. Because you got free will. It wouldn't make sense for him to set before you good and evil and then not give you free will and then you choose evil, but it's not really you who chooses it anyway because you don't got free will. Everybody wants to blame God, but you got free will. If you have free will, then it's on you. You can choose to obey him or not choose to obey him. That's on you. You can only blame God if this Bible tells you he did not give you free will, and yet you're still doing evil, and yet he's still sending you to hell. Then you can blame God. As long as he gives you free will, that's on you and you alone. Well, what about the devil? He still created the devil, and the devil tries to influence us. He gave you everything you need to fight the devil. Well, we don't always win, and God don't always punish you either. He forgives you. He's merciful too. So there's still leeway on his point. He still shows you mercy. He knows about your shortcomings. Not like we worship a God that leaves you completely defenseless. Then you get in trouble, and bam, he instantly punishes you. Come on, sisters and brothers. We got instantly punished for everything we do. None of us would be here. None of us. But he set that choice before you. And let me show you how he said that in another way. He told you to choose the good. Choose it. Wouldn't make any sense for him to tell you to choose something just if you ain't got free will, now would it? Right? Let's go to O.S.I.R.I.S or Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Let me show you something else. Man, God, you showing us a lot of stuff before you get to that God creating evil, because by the time you get there, it's going to be too easy for you to know what it's talking about. That's how you teach, sisters and brothers. I'm getting tired of people diving into the middle of the Bible and trying to teach people stuff. They do this junk all the time. I remember when I was at the Israel of God, and I'm mentioning them because I got a debate coming up with a guy from the Israel of God. Ironically, the guy who first brought me into the Word, my own brother-in-law. Right? But when you go to the Israel of God, they're always trying to show you a bunch of, different things. You know what I'm saying? And when you talk about this evil and this good stuff, they don't seem to have a real good grasp on that. Because they like to go to bed like, God create evil too, sisters and brothers, and they mean it in the immoral sense. That's the first people I learned from, where it says that God create evil. But they justified it in a way to make it acceptable, but it still wasn't the correct way to understand it. This is O.S.I.R.I.S chapter 15, or Ecclesiasticus. And we're going to read verses 16 and 17. When you get that, Jeff, go ahead and read in the Apocrypha.
Chapter 15?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ecclesiasticus chapter 15, verse 16. He has set fire and water before thee. Stretch forth thy hand unto whether thou wilt.
He said, he, talking about God, have set fire and water before thee. Fire representing evil, water representing good. Then he said, stretch forth your hand unto whichever one you want. That's choice. Now read verse 17.
Verse 17. Before man is life and death, and whether him liketh shall be given him.
Look what it says. That's what it's talking about, choice. That's why he said, stretch forth your hand. Life and death. Remember, we just read that in Deuteronomy 30. I have set before you good and evil, life and death. Before man is life and death. And whether him liketh, whichever one he wants, shall be given him. That's free will, life and death. That's choice. You can't get around that. Isn't that right, Jeff?
That's right.
You see that, Jeff? Okay.
Yeah, I'm still there. I got a cold. I had to wipe my nose.
Okay. That's choice, sisters and brothers. Life and death is set before you, and whichever one you want, God gonna give you that. It was the same way with Adam and Eve. So yes, God is the author of the possibility of evil. But I'm going to show you the author of evil specifically. He is, and we're getting there. But before we do, we got about 6.5 minutes before we go off the air, sisters and brothers. So if you're listening online, you got about 6.5 minutes before you won't be able to listen anymore. If you want to continue to follow the show, you have to dial 646-716-8249. Again, that is 646-716-8249. If you have any questions or comments, simply press 1 after you dial in, and we will add you into the conversation when the show is done. So we see that choice being given there, right? Now, let's deal with this evil word some more. Let's go to Genesis chapter 19. Now that we've looked it up, Jeff, we've defined it, we've seen the wide variety of uses that it is, it's time to play the quiz. Jeff, we're going to go to the Bible like we've been doing, and I'm going to let Jeff tell me what the word evil means here. And the only reason why I'm putting Jeff on the spot because he's the reader. That's the only reason why. Genesis 19. Let's see if he can figure it out now. Same word, same Hebrew word, raw. Genesis 19, this is about Lot. When the angels told him to escape Sodom and Gomorrah with his family before they destroyed it. Genesis 19, 18, and 19. Read when you get there, please.
Genesis chapter 19, verse 18. And Lot said unto them, O not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die.
Now, let me just break this down, and Jeff, you're going to tell me what this means. It says, and Lot said unto them, to the angels, oh, not so, my Lord, because they were telling him to escape, and he was telling them why he was afraid to escape. He said, behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, to be able to escape, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, or some evil will take me and I will die. So in this context, Jeff, based on all the definitions that we've been reading, what would you think the word evil means here? What word would you choose to describe this? When he said some evil will take me.
Some form of calamity.
Correct. See, did you have to look it up?
No.
Did you think that it was somehow some kind of immoral evil, like some evil person who don't want to keep God's law was going to give him?
No. It's all in context, brother.
All the context. He saw some type of calamity, some type of trouble, some type of disaster. He was afraid to go to the mountains because he thought something would happen to him. It could have happened at the hands of another man. We don't know. But he was just worried about disaster in general. This is not talking about immoral evil. And it's the same Hebrew word, ra. But notice from the context, without any prepping from me, Jeff could tell what it was talking about. And Jeff ain't never heard this class before. I've never done this class before.
That's right.
You see this? It's easy now. That's how you teach. You teach so well that when they come across it, they'll already know. Let me give you another example, Jeff. Let's see if you can get this one. Let's go to Genesis 47. 47. We're going to read one verse. This is talking about Jacob talking to Pharaoh after they were coming out of Egypt. Jacob getting ready to die. Children of Israel have been living in Egypt for a while. Right? Genesis 47, one verse. Verse 9. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 47, verse 9. And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained until the days of the years of the life of my fathers, and the days of their pilgrimage.
Now let me break down this verse, and once again, let's see if Jeff can figure it out. And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been. My life has been full of, my lifespan has not been that long, and it's been full of evil. And I have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage. In other words, I didn't live as long as they did. So, Jeff, when he says, few and evil have my days been, this is Jacob giving Pharaoh his life story. What do you think he meant right here when he said evil?
I think troublesome, or troubles that he was having.
Exactly. Right again, Jeff. But how did you know, Jeff?
It's all in context and knowing
all in context.
On his story.
And knowing his story, too, which amateurs and novices wouldn't know because they don't read the Bible. We know all the hardship. You could also say, I've been going through a lot of hardship. And we looked that up, difficulty. Remember that? We looked that up too. Troublesome, calamity, disastrous. Any one of these words would have done the trick. But notice Jeff did not for 1 second, even though it's the same English evil, even though it's the same Hebrew raw, notice that Jeff did not think for 1 second that it meant immoral wicked or immoral evil. Why did he not think that, y'all? Because I already showed him how to define these words and let the context tell you. And if you still don't believe it, go to another Bible translation and see where how they translate this word evil. They're going to use disastrous or they're going to say trouble. They're going to say it's been hard, it's been rough. You don't believe me? Go behind me, look it up. But Jeff didn't even have to do that. He could just figure it out reading the King James Version Bible. So why can't they figure it out? But let me show you this one. Now, Jeff, that I prepped you, and you got understanding now. Now let's go to the verses they try to go to make you think you're immoral, and you're going to be able to tell me what it's talking about. Isaiah 45. This is how you know you're getting good teaching, sisters and brothers, when I take you somewhere in the lesson that I haven't covered yet, and you can tell me what it means. That's how you know you're really learning. And then you go behind me after I tell you you are correct, and you go to another translation of the Bible, because you got to go to another translation because it's the same Hebrew word there. They ain't going to do you any good just to look it up because they're going to tell you wrong. So you go to another Bible translation and see how people who got understanding knew that this come out like trouble, disastrous, hard. Isaiah 45, verse 7. Read that.
Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things.
Now, wait a minute. Now, look. I form the light. I create darkness. The opposite of light is darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Now, if you look at this verse right here, context is key here too, because we know he said, I make peace and create evil. So even though that same word raw is used here, we know from the context that it must mean a definition of evil that's in opposition or the opposite of peace. What's the opposite of peace, Jeff?
Calamity or destruction.
Wow. That's correct. Now let's see if this is the context of this particular verse. Because they will take you and say, see, your God creates evil. He's wicked. He's evil. Immorally evil. Bad. That's a bad God. They'll tell you that. But you said calamity, destruction. Correct. And let me prove to you are correct. Skip down and read verse 9 and let's see what he was referring to when he said that. Go ahead and read.
Isaiah 45, verse 9. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker.
Stop.
Let the potsherd strive.
Hold on. Wait a minute, Jeff. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. What does it mean to strive with your maker? What does that mean?
To fight or struggle with or work with.
Exactly. Against. That means against. To fight or struggle against. That's why I said, woe. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. That means to try to go against his maker or disobey his maker. Right? Now I'm finished reading that.
Verse 9. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, what makest thou, or thy work? He hath no hands.
Now, it said, woe unto him that strives against his maker. This is after he said, I create peace and I create evil. Then he later says, woe, that means trouble is going to happen to somebody who strives against his maker. Talking specifically in this context about Israel. God is letting us know he can bring peace upon them or he can bring calamity upon them. Then he turns around and says, woe unto you that strive against your maker. In other words, if you go against me, you're getting the evil, or as Jeff defined it correctly, calamity or destruction. So based off the context right here, Jeff, when he says, I create evil as opposed to peace, it's exactly what you said. It's talking about calamity or destruction. It's not talking about immoral evil. So why are they taking us here, Jeff, to try to make us think that our God is immorally wicked?
Because they're looking for,
why are they doing
fault.
They're looking for fault. But notice that's why I made y'all read all this stuff before I took y'all here. I could have just started the lesson off right here, but no, I ain't want to do that. Let me educate you first before I try to show you something. And the problem is a lot of brothers who come at you and sisters are just simply uneducated. They have no understanding. But yet they want to argue. I'm not going to argue with an uneducated person. I instruct uneducated people, so they won't be uneducated anymore. And that's if they're willing to receive instruction. Let me show you another one. Now that you understand that, now check this out, Jeff. Skip down and read verse 21. Now you just read where it says God create evil. Now skip down and read verse 21. This would be very crazy if it meant immorally evil. Read verse 21.
Verse 21. Tell ye and bring them near. Yea, let them take counsel together, who have declared this from ancient time, who have told it from that time. Have not I, the Lord? And there is no God else beside me, a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me.
Now, Jeff, how in the world in verse 21 can he call himself a just God if he just got through saying he creates evil?
He couldn't. He would be a hypocrite if you didn't understand the previous verses that we read.
Exactly. A just God means a righteous God, a fair God. And a righteous God or a fair God would not create immoral evil. And then turn around and say he's just. No. He's talking about calamity, disaster, trouble I'm going to bring upon you. And there's nothing wrong with God doing that to people who deserve it. That's not evil. Would you think it's evil if somebody stole from you and you called the police and they demanded that the person return the goods or repay you equal value? Would you call that evil? You're like, no, that's what's supposed to happen. Even an unbeliever would say that. Some unbelievers say maybe we should beat them down too for stealing.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody would call that evil. But yet when God punishes his creation for disobeying him, you want to make God a wicked God. It's time for us to grow up, sisters and brothers. Stop being so liberal. You need to be punished. If you're wrong, you are supposed to be punished. That's just the way it goes. Right? So when he says he's a just God, he means he's righteous. Let me show you something else. Check this one out. Let's go to Jeremiah 11. See, now we got understanding now, sisters and brothers. Now when they try to show he create evil, it just meant he create calamity. Well, what kind of God would do that? He's bringing calamity upon wicked people. That's wrong. That's wrong to punish people who are being bad. That's wrong. I don't know anybody in their right mind who thinks it's wrong to punish bad people. If you don't think it's wrong to punish bad people, then don't get mad if somebody steals from you, because you don't think that's wrong.
That's right.
Don't get upset if somebody rapes your daughter and you take them to court and they're like, well, we don't think this guy deserves to be punished. We're just going to let him walk. You want some kind of retribution. You want some kind of justice. And you will be right to want it. So you do believe that bad people should be punished. You do believe that. So if you are bad and God punishes you for being bad or punishes anybody else, why are you looking at him like he's crazy? You follow what I'm saying? Come on. But Jeremiah 11, when you get there, read verses 10 and 11.
Jeremiah 11, verse 10. They are turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers, which refused to hear my words. And they went after other gods to serve them. The house of Israel and the house of Judah have broken my covenant, which I have made with their fathers.
You talking about the house of Israel and the house of Judah. They started worshiping other gods. They broke the covenant that they made with God, the agreement, right? So they are being wicked. That's what the house of Israel and the house of Judah were doing, being wicked. Now read verse 11, Jeff.
Verse 11. Therefore thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them.
So it's time for me to quiz you yet again, Jeff. In verse 11, when he says, I will bring evil upon the house of Israel and the house of Judah, what does the word evil mean in this context?
Again, it means calamity. He's bringing evil upon them for them being immorally evil, but not himself.
Exactly. Now, if you know your Bible, when did he bring evil upon the house of Israel? Do you know when he did that?
I couldn't tell you which captivity that they're talking about.
Exactly. It is a captivity. He brought evil or calamity upon the house of Israel with the Assyrian Empire. And he brought evil and captivity among the house of Judah with the Babylonian Empire. And he sent them to destroy them and to enslave them. But remember, when we look up the word evil, it meant disaster. Wouldn't that be disastrous, sisters and brothers, if God sent a whole nation to enslave your nation, rape your women, kill your children? That's pretty disastrous, isn't it, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
That's what God made happen. He did that. This is not about immoral evil. This is about disaster. That's the evil that God was talking about that he creates. I create disaster. I create calamity. That's what I do. It's not about immoral evil. What's wrong with people that every time they see the word evil, they mean evil as opposed to moral good? That's not what God is saying. Let me show you another one. Let's go to Amos chapter 3. We only got 2 or 3 more after that. Amos chapter 3. Amos chapter 3. Is God the author of evil? Depends on what evil you're talking about. Is he directly the author of calamity and destruction and disaster and bad luck? Yes. Is he the author of immoral evil? No. Is he the author of the possibility to commit immoral evil? Yes. Yes, he is. Well, I can't serve a God that will even create the possibility of it. Then you can't serve somebody who gives you free will. You don't want to serve somebody who gives you the ability to decide something for yourself. Everybody I know can't stand being told what to do and how to do something all the time. And you worship a God that's giving you the ability to learn and choose for yourself. You don't like that God. You'd rather be a robot. I don't want to be a robot, sisters and brothers. I want to make my choice to serve my God. That is a gift from God. We only understand that free will is a gift from God. Every time you turn around, you got some fool jumping up. They're trying to take away our freedoms. And that's true. And then that same fool will be like, don't worship God because he gave you free will. Huh? So they ain't going to say it directly like that, but their reasoning leads them to saying that they don't like God because he gave you free will. God is not the author of immoral evil. He's the author of the possibility of evil. That's what he is. I can live with that because that's connected to me having free will. Amos chapter 3, when you get there, read verses 3 to 6. And this is a series of rhetorical questions, meaning the answer is going to be no to every question, even though it doesn't say no, but you know the answer. Go ahead and read.
The book of Amos chapter 3. Verse 3, can two walk together except they be agreed?
No.
Will a lion roar? Oh, go ahead, brothers.
No, keep reading. Go. I'm just answering every time you read the question. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Okay. Verse 4, will a lion roar in the forest when he hath no prey?
No.
Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing?
No.
Can a bird fall in the snare upon the earth where no gin is for him?
No, you can't
Shall
fall
one
upon
take
the
up-
trap. You can't fall upon the trap that's not there. That's what it is saying. When there's no gin. So the answer is no. Go ahead and read.
Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all?
No.
Shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid?
No, because the trumpet is blown when something bad is about to happen. So go ahead and read.
Shall there be evil in the city and the Lord hath not done it?
See, they'll take you here too to this, Jeff, and the answer to this one is also no. Can there be evil in the city and the Lord have not done it? But Jeff, what kind of evil are we talking about here?
We're talking about calamity.
Calamity, disaster, trouble, hard times, bad times. We're not talking about immoral evil. Our God is not immorally evil. Stop trying to make people believe that because you don't understand how the word evil is used in the Hebrew and even in the English language. I let you look all this stuff up. It's time to get educated about this Bible, sisters and brothers. Now, let's go to Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. We're going to read one verse. Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and verse 1. We only got two more after that. It's time for people to understand. And like I said, in other classes, I can show you that God, in certain cases, can strip people of their free will and make them be robots. But that's only after they have forfeited their free will by constantly being wicked. He will do that. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1. Go ahead and read, Jeff.
Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them.
Then it says, remember now thy Creator in the days of your youth, which means while you're young, while the evil days come not. Just once again, what does the word evil mean here?
That means trouble sometimes, or burdensome, or things of that nature.
How did you know, Jeff?
Because of the context.
Because of the context. But that same English word evil is used there, and that same Hebrew word ra is used there. But notice, because of this lesson, Jeff, I can just take you to any verse in the Bible where the word evil is used, and you can tell me what it means. Like an expert. Like you don't study this class yourself for years.
Right.
That, my friend, is good teaching. When somebody can do that. And it's not hard to see. Is this, are you like really struggling to try to figure this out, Jeff, when you read this stuff?
No, brother. The only thing I have trouble with is some of these old English words, but everything else is clear.
Exactly. I mean, when I say are you struggling, I mean, are you struggling to figure out what evil is referring to here?
No, not at all. You made that clear.
It's real simple to the point where I can just send you out and tell you to read it, and you can tell me what it means. You see that? It's not hard. So now when they take you to a place where it's about God creates evil, it's talking about calamity and trouble and disaster for people who deserve it. Let's go. Now, let's see what kind of God we do serve as far as morals are concerned. Psalms 25, verse 8. You can't read one place in the Bible where God is called evil morally. Can't read it. So stop taking me to places where it's talking about him creating disaster and trouble for wicked people and trying to say that means he's evil morally. We're not going to fall for it. We got more understanding than that at ABT. Psalms 25 and verse 8. There's one verse. Go ahead and read.
Psalm chapter 25, verse 8. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore will he teach sinners in the way.
It said good and upright. That means righteous is the Lord. Therefore, he will teach sinners in the way. Good and upright. And that same Hebrew word, tob, is used there. This is about moral. You see how simple that is to see? You saw that too, Jeff. I had to tell you that. You can see what it's talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Morally good. Inherently good. Good character. Good nature. People think that just because you're a good person that you cannot make bad things happen. That's not true, sisters and brothers. You can be a good parent and spank your child when they need to be spanked. Your child may think it don't feel good, but when they get older, they will know it was for their good. But stop being so naive, sisters and brothers. Just because somebody does something that makes us feel bad doesn't mean they are a bad person. A lot of things God had to do to people made them feel bad, but they knew it was for their good. Let's go to the last one. Psalms 86, one verse, verse 5. It's not hard, sisters and brothers. It's not. That's why I just let Jeff figure it out. I knew once I showed him this stuff, and y'all, that you can just dive in the Bible and just read the word evil, and you will know what it's referring to. Like I said, I've never done this class before. This is a brand new class. Jeff has never heard it. I did not call Jeff beforehand and go through this with him. I'm just so confident that it's so easy and clear to see. Once I show you how to define and understand context, you'll see it. I just know that. It's real simple. Psalms 86, verse 5. Read that one verse, please.
Psalm 86, verse 5. For thou, Lord, art good and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee.
What type of good is this talking about right here, Jeff?
That's morally good.
Morally good. Another way we can say that is having a good character. You know, a good character. So it says he is good and ready to forgive. But in other places we read that God creates evil. Somebody with a good character or inherently good person will not create immoral evil. But they can create the possibility of immoral evil only by giving their creation free will. And you cannot have free will without the possibility of immoral evil. So, sisters and brothers, as you can see, to answer the question, is God the author of evil? The answer is, depends on what kind of evil you're talking about. Is he the author of immoral evil? No, he is not, because he is not immoral. He's a good and a just and a fair God. He may not always seem fair to us, but he is a good, a moral, and a fair God. Is he the author of calamity and destruction and disaster? Yes, he can be at times, yes. And what kind of evil are we talking about when we read, I create evil? I bring evil upon the city that's called by my name. That's come out disaster and trouble for people who deserve it. He brought evil among Sodom and Gomorrah. He brought evil among Israel. But it does not mean immoral evil. Is he the author of the possibility of evil? Yes, he is, because he gave you free will. Did he put the possibility of good and evil right in your face? Yes, he did. Nobody's denying that. Did he give you the choice on which one to choose, or does he make you choose one? He gave me the choice. So, sisters and brothers, when somebody tries to come to you and try to tell you that your God is the author of evil or your God creates evil, you just simply ask them, what kind of evil are you referring to? And they be like, what do you mean, what kind of evil? Already you know. They don't have any understanding. Because if you even have to ask what kind of evil, then you have no idea which evil God is the author of. And if you don't have any idea which evil God is the author of, then the question you should start out by asking is there more than one kind of evil mentioned in the Bible? See you next time.